All right, so we're doing Gemara and Moy Katan on Chaf Beis Amud Beis. The Gemara starts like a third of the way down. It starts Al Kol Meisim Kul Mistaper La'achar Shloshim Yom Alav El Imo Ad Shigaru Bo Chavero. Right, so on all Meisim, you could take a haircut after 30 days. On your father or your mother, it's until your friend tells you you look bad.
So where's the Gemara?
On Chaf Beis, a third of the way down. I'll call a mason.
First one is Mason.
Yeah, I see it. Cool one, shoulder,
I need a better reference point.
Top third and bottom third.
It's
over here.
Top third.
Look, it's there's a little aleph next to it. I'll call it Mason.
But okay.
No offending him.
Alright, go ahead.
But we want actually the second part of the memra. I'll call mason kul nichnas l'beis Simcha l'achar shloshim yom al aviv yal imo l'achar yebeis chodesh. Right. So for all mason, you could go to Beis HaSimcha after Shloshim Yom, but on your mother or your father, it's after your Beis Chodesh. Right? So Amar Rabba Bar Chana ul Simchas MeReus. Right? Amar Rabba Rashi. Ha disanya nichnas l'beis HaSimcha hamishta la'achar Shloshim Yom l'Simchas MeReus. Suda she'osin reim ve'achuvim ze'im zeh. Right, a suda that friends and loved ones make for each other. V'lo havi simcha kol kach. It's not. There's not so much simcha. Avol suda de simcha could go into nisuin lo. Right, but a suda of simcha, like a wedding, no, you can't go in even after Shloshim Yom. Now it's a whole machlokes Rashi and Tosfos if it's la'achar Shloshim Yom, if it's la'alter. I don't really want to get into that, but I wanted to understand what is Rashi saying. Rashi's differentiating.
Which Rashi is it?
L'simchas MeReus.
Just explain the facts.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the facts is that if someone dies, right, a karov. Right, someone who's your brother, your sister, your wife, or one of your kids dies. So you're not allowed. There's shiva, right, and there's a lot of things you're not allowed to do. You can't wear regular shoes. You have to sit on the floor. You can't talk to people. You can't take a shower. And then there's shloshim, system of shloshim, up to 30 days. You have to be memayit b'simcha. Right, you have to lessen, so you can't take trips. You really have to be involved in the reality that the mace died, and not get yourself involved in things like distractions. And one of the things that you're not allowed to, and then there's for your parents, there's a system of Beis Chodesh that for 12 months you're not allowed to do other things. Right. Now, one of the Gemara is saying is that if you can't go to a Beis HaSimcha, you can't go to like a wedding for like Shloshim, because Shloshim applies to everyone up to other than your parents, and then your Beis Chodesh, right, for your parents. So those time periods you can't go to a wedding because it's simcha. It's going to take you away from the thinking about the mace. But the Gemara is now differentiating between two kinds of simchas, right? One is a simcha of a wedding where two people get married, and you have a big party. And then there's this Simchas MeReus, right, where you hang out with your friends, you have a barbecue. You say, Dylan, why don't you come over for a barbecue, have a good time, right? And so that, right, Rashi's differentiating between that a simcha of Mishta, of Nisuin, of marriage would be at least again. There's a machlokas Rashi and Tosfos of when the times are like Tosfos brings down that even right after Shiva, you for Simchas MeReus you could go in immediately. Rashi's saying Lachar Shloshim, and then he has this, but he definitely says that Simcha of Nisuin is you can't even go into that till after, right? So definitely Simchas MeReus is a lesser form of Simcha, right? It's mutter, whether you want to say up until Shloshim, whether you want to say La'alter. Yeah.
What's Gemara's? What's Beis HaSimcha?
So Beis HaSimcha is a house of Simcha, right? So that's what Rashi is differentiating.
He's saying it's Nisuin.
Right.
Beis HaSimcha is Nisuin.
Simcha, right.
Dafka Nisuin or something that isn't
Dafka Nisuin.
Dafka Nisuin.
Dafka Nisuin. Right. The Gemara, the Rishonim go through bris. They go through all these other cases. But the question is, let's just try to define, without trying to go Machlokas Rashi and Tosfos and all in the details. What does it mean that Suda that friends make for each other, right, is not Simcha Kol Kach, and therefore it's more lenient than Simchas Nisuin. Yeah.
I would say that this whole process is definitely like weaning you off, like in terms of extreme levels of your state of mourning.
Right.
So this what's the Gemara? Simchas MeReus?
Yeah, MeReus. Yeah, from friends, right?
Yeah.
Amongst
so
friends.
you would say that even so, after owning, the Shiva is the most extreme, where you're just you're totally osake and thinking about the mate and all that stuff. So you could say the next step of weaning them off isn't just you go from that to okay, now you're all cool. You can do things that are simcha, but it has to be within the family, within your friends, to sort of have. It's still an environment that I guess is conducive towards like a similar thing to Shiva.
But it's as opposed to. But what is that? What's that a? Is it simcha? Am I allowed to have simcha?
Yeah, but it has to be controlled. It seems like is what it's saying.
But how is it different? If in both cases I'm gonna be happy, I'm having a party, I'm eating great meat, I'm drinking great wine, right? Good scotch, whatever it is.
Good soda.
Right? Good soda. What's your favorite soda?
Keep it
Pepsi?
real.
Okay.
Anything with sugar in it.
Anything with sugar, okay. Right?
Rashi wine's okay though. Close enough.
Bartanura, is that?
Yeah, that's close enough.
Okay. What kind of category is that? If it's simcha, I'm getting simcha both cases, right? Simchas MeReus is simcha. I feel good. I feel happy. What is?
Are you saying like, wait, if you're always with your, yeah, also just a question on Simchas MeReus. Does it have? What is MeReus? Just any friends of yours, or with your family, or what is?
It's friends. Friends. I mean, whatever. It's anybody. It's anyone you. It's like a crowd.
Okay, because then the question is just factually, what's the difference between MeReus and Nisuin?
That's a good question. Oh, factually, I mean, in Nisuin there's a marriage, right?
I'm talking about in terms of the people there.
The distinction.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the question. I mean, isn't that? That's a great question.
Yeah. I'm saying before you even get into categories, just what's.
Well, that's all we know is that there's an event of marriage, right? And then there's a suda that's related to that, and then we know that there's this party that you invite your friends over, or they invite you over, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the key word was distraction. I don't think that going to a barbecue with other people. Clearly, you can even when even in Shiva.
It's not Shiva.
Not Shiva.
Definitely not Shiva.
Definitely not Shiva. But Shloshim, when you're supposed to be thinking about the mace, even according to everyone, it clearly does not. It's not a distraction. It's just going instead of eating your meal at home, you go eat the meal in a social setting.
But why? But why is it? Isn't it? Aren't they? Is the simcha the distraction?
I mean,
Like in other words, there
No.
wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem of me eating with the rest of. Let's say my brother dies. I could eat with my sister, right?
Correct.
It wouldn't be a problem of we're both avelim, right? That wouldn't be so. It must be there's something. Is it based on the Simcha, right? I mean, it seems it's something based on the Simcha. Simchas MeReus, right? They're both or Simchas Nesuin.
Correct.
So now, why is there no distraction? I could feel just as good.
Right. It has nothing to do with. I could feel get better at a MeReus than a wedding.
And you could even feel right. And
technically.
Right.
So right.
so what kind of? So who cares? So the distraction. So how can you tell me the distraction? Then, according to you, it's going to be a greater distraction by MeReus than it is by Nesuin.
Correct. That was a mistake.
That's good. That's good. Good try.
I mean, people. I don't think the details of wedding is important because it says Kegon Simchas Nesuin. It doesn't say Simchas Nesuin. So there are other examples besides Simchas Nesuin. So it's not really in the details of wedding.
Well, that's I don't know which other example.
Well, some quality of wedding that would carry over into others.
Okay, fine. What is that quality of wedding?
Like an office party. I don't know.
But an office party that's Simchas MeReus. That's just friends.
Well, I mean, I want to make the clear between like a social scene as opposed to just hanging with your people. It's a little different.
Why is that a
Like when
different?
I go out with my friends to the mall, let's say that's not a social scene because I don't have to be social. I don't have to be different. I don't have to change my mode. I could be sad. I could be depressed with my friends. Even if I'm happy, I don't have to be happy. I don't have to pretend I'm something. I don't have to integrate back in society. But a wedding or other places like that where you don't know people.
Well,
you
that's
pretend to
but
be happy.
wouldn't that be dependent on your situation? It could be you had the greatest time of your life.
No, it's not about the time. It's about what the setting.
I know, but what is the difference in the settings?
Well, one seems to be clearly with people you're comfortable with, because it specified friends and loved ones.
Okay, so why does that make a difference? So then, according to you, I could have the best time of my life with my friends and loved ones, and then really a bad time with people who are complete strangers. Yet this one would be mutter.
Right, it's not about the happiness, you can be on drugs and sitting in a room and you're very happy, but it's about the integration back into society, which is the problem.
But why is that more of an integrated thing than being with my friends? I mean, how
Because I
often?
can be with my friends in pajamas. You get dressed up to go out. It's a whole different experience.
You also get dressed up to go with your friends.
No, you don't have to. It's not. You don't have to
But
be
you don't have to-
different. You have to. If you're in a social scene, you have to act different. You have to be out there.
You cannot talk to anyone at a wedding.
And it's much more distracting because it's not in your setting.
Well, you might just be very alone. I mean, I could bring you examples both ways. You could bring me an example. I could go example just the opposite. I mean, I want to define what is a wedding. Yeah, in the back.
I mean, if you think about the reason why somebody would have a suda by a wedding, so like, what's the guy got married, so why do you have to have a suda? So the suda is really expressing happiness. Well, if together with friends, if you went with friends and you said, why are we going out? It wouldn't be because of a reason. It would just be because we're friends, so we're going out. So it's not like it's not a thing that you're doing specifically for happiness. Well, Susan Soon is specifically expressing happiness.
I think you're on something.
You got time a good coach shut up there.
Alright, that's gotta stop right now.
Just to add on to what he
No,
said,
no, my friend.
the wedding is a nicker that is a simcha. It's like a shame simcha. But hanging out with your friends is not, it's not really a simcha. It's just just having dinner, at a guy's house.
Right. Okay. Good.
It's not really
Right.
nicker.
Yeah.
I'd say the wedding, the simcha comes, it's like inherent in the mitzvah itself. So it's sort of like what he's saying. When you have even if there's nobody at the wedding, it's just the chassan and kala and you and I guess the Aiden, there's still a necessity to have simcha. So that comes from the mitzvah, like it's something inherent in the act itself. Versus when you're with your friends, that's just sort of happenstance. There isn't anything inherent within that itself that would take you away, necessarily from the Avela stage. Whereas by the wedding, it
Right.
has to, because
Okay.
it comes from the mitzvah itself.
Right, yeah, isn't a mitzvah within at a wedding to be Mosamech Chasan and Kala, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. I mean, you can't do that if you're.
Fine, but let's say you're fine, so you're not Makayim the mitzvah. But I think you guys are saying very good. I think you guys are saying very good. That just want to.
Could the other could go into like a Shah Brachos?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess that would be a good one. But just to make it just a little bit more definitive, right? But I think it's exactly what you guys are saying is that by a nisuin, right, you have an event that demands simcha, right? Naturally, right, is ton simcha. It just draws people in, right? And the meal is an expression of that, right? It's mitzuraf to the event, and it's an expression of that happiness, right? So in the meal, the definition of the meal is l'shem simcha, right? It's right. Is the simcha is essentially part of the meal, but when you're with your friends, the simcha just emerges from the social, right? So it's not intrinsic. It's like you said. It's an accident of the meal, right? It's a happenstance. Happens to be that you're in a situation, right? So that's a different type of Suda, right? That's a Suda where the simcha is an accident. It's secondary to the meal. It's not that the meal is intrinsically simcha, right? It's just that it emerges from the meal. Yeah.
From what you said earlier about Mr. Chatan Bakal, can't you say by the Chatan and Kala seeing you there, just being there alone makes them happy? So
It's not about them being happy. It's about being engaged in a Suda Shel Simcha. That's the Isser. So a Suda, there's two kinds of Suda Shel Simcha. One where it's intrinsically Simcha, and one is where it's accidentally Simcha, where the Simcha just emerges just because you having a good time, right? So that's what Rabbi Bar Khan is saying. That is a not simcha kol kach. It's a different kind. It's a. And apparently, according to Tosfos, who says you could do l'alter, right? Even it's not even. It doesn't even uproot the shame avel, because the shame avel lasts for 30 days, right? But definitely they're both agreeing, whether without getting into that machlokas, right? They're definitely, Rashi is pointing out that if you look at the nature of those two simchas are different. Yeah.
What exactly about a wedding produces simcha?
What about a wedding? Is this the natural?
No,
It's a natural. What?
What?
No, it's not even the mitzvah. You can't say the mitzvah. I mean, it's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is just to engage in that.
I think we need a better definition. That seems very subjective. Maybe some people don't like.
No,
that.
it naturally brings people. It just naturally evokes that happiness.
Can it also be
Usually hang out with friends
that?
also vote.
No, so,
Do you have to say
if
that
the
it's
marriage
true?
itself
Why
So-
not say
Go
that?
ahead.
then it's accidental by the meal. Right? There's nothing about the meal.
No, because it's a happy event. You see that the whole. Oh, look at all the brachos. It's a happy event,
So there's no
and now
the Suda is just a continuation of the event.
right. It's
like a sub-event.
mitzuraf.
It's a sub-event.
It's a mitzuraf. It's a suda of that event.
Overriding happiness, and the Suda is some
It's not.
sub-event.
It's not the happiness. It's not the affect of happiness. You guys. It's not just the fact that a person feels happy, right? Because then you can't differentiate. Because you could just have as much happiness being with your friends. It's the nature of the Suda, right? That the Suda is defined as a Suda Shel Simcha. So since you have an event that is a happy event, and this is an expression of that event, right? It's a celebration of that event. So then intrinsically the Simcha is in the Suda. As opposed to where you produce an affect in me because I'm with people. But it's not in the Suda per se. It's just because the Suda is a social Suda. So then eventually it will come out once a person gets a couple drinks in them that they're feeling good. Throw on some music.
What's an example of Suda per se?
What do you mean?
Says Suda per se. I don't know.
The Suda per se, the Suda itself is
Also,
an
here's the
expression
Suda
of
itself.
is
The Suda was not tied to Nisuin. It wouldn't be.
absolutely, but it is tied. But it is tied to
The
Nisuin.
base
But
simcha.
then it's not. But it's really not essentially. Then it's that it's tied to this.
No, but it's the tying to it defines it as a Suda Shel
It's like it
Simcha.
has a different Birkat Hamazon.
And how does an accident become an essence?
Mizameh.
Just like that.
It's not an act. It's not an accident. It's an essence.
Yeah.
How is a meal?
Because
not an essential
it's
part
kove.
of
It's the
anything?
kvius of it is because of the chasam v'kala. So from the beginning of the kvius, it's a beis simcha. It's a, you know.
Fine, but you're saying
In the kvius of the Suda.
So
So therefore, that Suda, that an involvement in that Suda is intrinsically, it's an expression of Simcha. As opposed to it being involved in a Suda where the Simcha emerges. Engaging in that Simcha is not in that Suda.
from the inception.
Exactly. From the inception, there's Simcha.
You can also take it a little further and ask why is there a simcha at the wedding and what's the reason or
No.
the essence of that simcha?
Right, so I was gonna say, there's
You
no
can't
real
say-
difference between friends and college.
In the
Just
experience.
is.
In the experience, you could be
Not
happy.
even in the
You
experience.
could even be happy that the Patriots won the Super Bowl. Happier
No,
than
not the-
these two people getting married.
Not in the
But that's not usher to watch the Super Bowl.
I'm saying even in the thing itself.
It's not the-
There's no real difference in Chasam Kala. You're just defining Chasam Kala as is happy as opposed to
What
being
does
with
that mean? What
friends.
does that mean in itself? What does that
What do you mean? It is in terms of the affect of Simcha. In terms of the
Why
affect
is
of,
Chasam Kala simple?
it just is. It's just, that's
what I'm
a
saying.
phenomenon.
And you're saying friends aren't. Just
No, but I'm saying is the Suda.
Because you're saying-
But it's
you're saying the Suda
halachic.
emerged- You're saying the Suda itself emerged because of the simcha of the event.
Exactly.
So therefore,
you hang out with
since
friends also
inception,
merged because the suit also merged when you hang out with friends.
No, but that's not the Simcha of friends. It's just saying that the Simcha comes about because you're in a social environment.
No,
But it's not that the
maybe I-
Suda.
Every time I'm with my friends, I get
it's
simcha,
cause
and
and
I have
effect.
Suda because of that.
By the
By the
All
merit,
you're saying is I have no problem if you say
You're
Oh, fine,
getting
fine. I'm just not
too-
so bad. So
you're
I-
getting too fixated on trying to figure out experientially if
no,
the
no,
happiness one has at a wedding
So I
or
said-
not.
no.
It's nothing to do with that.
No, no,
You have
you
to
said
do-
the
listen,
Suda
listen,
shall
listen.
It's the nature of the Suda.
Categories that are being presented here. No, you got to
So
work within the
So
facts.
as long as you say it just is, I don't have
But
that.
if I
say
think I go to the mall,
cosmetologist is.
I think I go to the mall. That Suda is emerging from the sin we have together.
Right, I'm saying.
So what's the difference?
No, it's not emerging.
Because you're happy to be together?
Simcha is the effect of the
Of the Suda. Of the Suda. It's not that the Suda is kavua with
Simcha.
Simcha.
That the simcha of the Suda is the same as the marriage because that's where it emerged from. You want to say
I'm
the
saying-
Suda
I'm
emerges
saying-
from.
What I'm saying is that
Conceptions happen later.
I'm saying is the halacha asers a Suda shel Simcha. Okay? There's an idea of a Suda shel Simcha. Okay? Now, when the Suda is essentially, it's kavua l'simcha, because of an event,
It's inception.
because of it, right?
Only because you're not
So
defining
then
friends as
halachically, that's an essential Suda shel Simcha.
simcha. But because you're not defining friends as simcha. I have no problem if you say it is.
No.
There's no reason why it is.
Friends is
It's
friends.
simcha. But let's say I defined simcha as me and my friend getting together, then the meals we
What
have
is
would
that?
be the same.
If you-
That event would produce the same
Right.
meal, but you say, I have no problem with it, but you're saying
It
that
doesn't.
that would never have shame event simcha.
Exactly.
Okay,
In the
fine.
Suda is not a Suda shel Simcha.
Because
Because
friends
that
together
event
is not
never
called
gets shame
simcha.
eventual simcha.
Right, exactly. From its inception, it's just that the Simcha emerges from your. Okay.
I would just say like is the simcha the cause of the effect? So by the wedding, the simcha is the cause and the effect is the suda.
Okay. I mean,
Friends,
yeah, but
friends.
either way, you're gonna have to say.
No, I agree,
But
I'm just saying-
halachically, that's why there's a shame in the Suda because it causes the Suda, as opposed to it being an accident,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Can you like posit that the nature of the simcha by nisuin, or going on the fact that it could be that it's only like in regards to something to do with marriage, that the essence of marriage is like I guess prolonging Torah, through life, conception. That's like what's supposed to happen. Also, that's what the focus of the day is for the chassan, and so that's like the opposite of what he's supposed to be thinking about in terms of the death of his father.
Why can't it just be that he's happy?
Well, I mean, no. What do you mean happy? Like
Because it's a happy day. The guy's happy. He's gonna get a wife. He's gonna build a family. There's a lot of things.
No, but I'll take it.
Well, why do we have to go simple? I don't. No one says anything about anything else. All right. So the Gemara though goes on and says Meisve, right? Ula Simcha Ula MeReus Shloshim Yom. Right, so you see it says L'Simcha and MeReus are usher for 30 days. Right? So you can't tell. So now the Gemara is right. No Rashi. So you see that the Gemara is saying the first Chakira we made is wrong. Right? Because I don't care if it's essentially. The simcha is essential in the Suda, or if it's accidental. They both are usher for 30 days, right? So they're equal. So apparently, as long as I have a Suda that produces an affect of simcha, right? Then it's usher to go to. So it's not based on this first Chakira, right? So they broke us down, right? So the Gemara says, Kasha, it's a question, right? So Ameimar Masni Hachi. Ameimar learned it this way. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Ula Simchas MeReus Mutter Likanes LaAlter, right? Simchas MeReus, no. There's definitely a difference between Simchas MeReus and Simchas Nesuin. And Simchas MeReus, you're allowed to go immediately. V'hatanya l'simcha shloshim ul MeReus shloshim.
What's immediate?
What?
What's immediate?
After Shiva. Yeah. Right? So maybe you'll tell me. So what are you going to? So now you're going to bring back this brisa, right? That it says l'simcha shloshim ul MeReus shloshim. Right? Lo kasha. Ha ba'arisusa, ha before anusa. Right? No. The case where it's where MeReus is usher for 30 days is in a case of arisusa, and the case where you're allowed to go immediately is before anusa. Okay, so let's look at Rashi about right. Haba arisusa, haba before anusa. Arisa hainu shemaschil echad mehen laso suuda. Right. Arisa is a case where one person decides he begins to make a suda. Umalve lekulam kedei sheyasu gam heim namikach. Right. So, and what he does is he says, okay, I'm going to make the first. Let's get together and we'll do a bunch of Sunday barbecues. I'll do the first barbecue, and then Dylan will do the next barbecue, and Avi will do the next barbecue. Yaakov will do the next barbecue. All right, and we'll just have a rotation. So Arisa is the guy who begins it. Right, begins the idea. So that la'osa suda eno nichnas ad la'achar shloshim yom. So that suda he can't go into until 30 days is over. Right? Aval bepuranusa, but when puranusa means paying back, shemishalim lahem suudos shenaasu lo yikanes la'alter she'i efshar lo shelo l'shalim. Right? But when you're paying back, so now it's Avi's turn. Right? It's his Sunday, and it's within Shloshim for him, right? He could pay back to us, the ones that we did for him, because it's impossible that he can't pay back, right? So the question is, two questions. First of all, who cares? Who cares if you're paying back, you're starting it off? Everyone's happy. Isn't it, right? Isn't there still the affect of Simcha? Isn't that was the Brisa, right? Broke down. So who cares if it's Pornusa, it's Arisusa, who's inviting whom, right? And second of all, what about Rashi left out a case? He said the guy who invites is you're not allowed to invite, you're not allowed to start off the case. He said you're allowed to pay back, right? But am I allowed to go to the one that someone's paying me back? I'm the Avel. And Avi's time to pay back. Am I allowed to go to that situation? Am I allowed to go to that one?
Yeah. Why not?
Because
he
I'm
owes
not
you
big.
money.
No, because Rashi says it's EF Shurish. You're allowed to make the payback. Who said you go to someone else's payback?
What happened? I'm sorry, this is why.
Then what's the point of someone paying you back for?
But what I'm saying is no. The point is that Rashi only says that you could pay back.
What are you looking at me for?
I'm telling you.
He's my
You wanna know the facts?
Yeah, facts. Why? I thought we just said you could go to these type of parties.
No. So right. Who is it? Meimar. The Gemara brought a meisve and broke down our original idea, right?
Okay.
And said it says MeReus l'simcha u'leMeReus shloshim, right? You have to wait till 30 days.
So what was the one that you don't expect there?
So the point is that it broke down. So apparently they broke down our chakira, whether it's an essential simcha or it's an accidental simcha, right? So as long as there's simcha, there's an affect of simcha, you're not allowed to go, right? So a Meimar says though, no, the halacha still is that for Simchas MeReus you could go to altar, you don't have to wait 30 days. But he says, but now you're going to ask me the question of that meisve, right? It says l'MeReus shloshim, just like a nisuin. So he says there's two cases of MeReus. One is when you're starting the cycle, and one is when you're paying back, right? So, and when you're starting, you have to wait till it's just like nisuin, right? And if you're paying back, right, then you could do it l'alter.
Right, okay.
So I asked the question. So what's the difference?
It says you can't create it, or you can't even go to the one creating it.
You can't either. Which you have to explain, right? But also what's the halacha if someone's paying me back? Can I go to that? Because Rashi leaves that case out. Right?
Paying you back or
If you're paying back,
paying someone else back?
if you're paying back,
Yeah.
you could do that l'alter.
Right.
But someone's paying you back.
Paying you back or paying someone else back? It's a fourth case.
No, it's a difference. There's five of us do it together. I started.
Right.
I can't. So if I'm the Avel, I can't start.
Right, so you already sponsored a party.
If I sponsored it and I'm the Avel and Dylan's paying back, Dylan's week.
I'm contributing. He's contributing now. I'm doing it.
Whatever, it's his week.
Okay.
So I could go. So if I'm the Avel, if Dylan's the Avel,
Yeah.
he could pay back. He could do the second week. But what happens if I'm the Avel and he's paying back?
I mean, it's someone else's.
Can he go?
Can I go? Yeah.
But to answer both questions, the first question was why should he be allowed to go? Why should he be able to pay back if he's a novel? If we already said that there's no difference whether. So what Rashi says, yeah, sure.
After Shalol L'Shalim.
So if
It's impossible that he can't pay back.
so he has to pay back, so that's why he can do it even if he's a novel.
What does that make? But isn't there Simcha? So I'll pay back next week.
So what does Rashi mean impossible?
That's a good question. Why is
Let's
Rashi?
assume he means impossible. So
No, but it's not. It's impossible because you can't stop the guy from paying back.
Well, if you owe a person money, so he's a novel, so he doesn't have to pay back money.
So I'll pay back the week later. Let's say else.
But if I
Which?
had-
Rashi says it's impossible.
Why?
Let's say,
It's not like I'm. It's not like it's not a real. It's not a real loan. It's not a real loan.
it's being treated as a real loan.
How did you know?
What?
How did you know that by the inception of this rotation that you can't go or start? You said start at first. How did you know it was going?
Because Rashi says la'osu suda lo yikanis.
Wouldn't it make more sense to learn Kal V'chomer the other way? You can't show up Kal V'chomer, you can't even make it. But how do you know you can't actually show up?
You certainly can't make it, right?
Right.
I'm fine if you want to just use those facts.
Just that one? Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems we definitely fell off the chiluk of the simple producing the suda as opposed to the suda.
Correct. 100%. That was broken down from the mace of
So I
it.
think now the chiluk is that any simcha that's not voluntary can never, even if you're experiencing simcha, can never have shame simcha. Can never be called full simcha if you didn't want to do it. It's only if you're the one who's responsible for the inception of it, or you going to it would also have a paskin also not allowed, even if someone else is doing it, because being as it's voluntary for you to go, so then that would be called simcha.
Why?
Why would? Oh, because the thing is simcha. The thing stam is simcha. You're having fun.
Yeah.
It's a party. It's
Okay.
simcha.
Excellent.
But if it's involuntary, it can never be called shame simcha. Even if you might be having fun, but it being as it's involuntary, you can't call that simcha.
Yeah,
But is there simple or not?
Somehow the expectation doesn't allow shame simple to emerge.
Why?
That might be why we can't ask.
Choice. It's gotta be.
Okay, fine. I think you're on something, but I like a little bit more. I mean, it sounds it's not complete because you know what I mean. But I do think you're getting somewhere.
I think the guy, the Abel who is instigating the simcha, I mean the meal, it's really simcha for him because all he's thinking about is I'm planning this meal and I want it to be in like the highest perfection and whatever blah blah blah, and that's simcha for him like from the beginning of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the other way around, then it's just an average meal. I just happen to go there, and for that meal, it's like we said before, the simcha is like an accident to the meal. But over here, it's not an accident. It's really the simcha because he is.
But I can't go to a meal either, right? If can I go to them? So what's the halacha? Can I go to someone else's? Someone's paying me back.
Oh, you can't even.
Can I go to that one?
It has to be if it's voluntary, then it's okay. So forgetting the facts of if you're happy or not about the party, it depends on who the party is, right? You can't talk about that. But insofar as the voluntary versus involuntary, if it's voluntary, it's nicker that there's simcha because he wouldn't have done it if there weren't a simcha. So the fact that he chose to do it shows that he's having simcha of this, or else he wouldn't have done this. But if it's involuntary, you can't prove that there's simcha, and therefore you can't call it simcha.
Who cares? But who cares if I'm? But is there? Who cares if I could prove it?
It's not nicker.
His motivation is nicker.
Right. Here you could tell it's for simcha. Here, I don't know, maybe he had to do it. So it might not be simcha. You can't tell somebody he can't do something he has to do because of simcha. It might not be simcha. He has to do
I'm
it.
doing it to get you off my back.
But it's something where he chose to do it. There's no way you can explain it away. If you didn't want to do it, why would you do it? You got a choice. It has to be experiential in some way.
But is it based on? Is there simcha? Isn't it based on if there's an affect of simcha?
Any party is an affect of simcha.
Let's go. So then, why should it matter if I'm paying back?
Because if it's involuntary, you can never say I did it for the simcha.
Who cares if I say it or not? But am I having fun or not?
Halacha can't put something in your head. He can say you can't. Halacha can't tell you can't do something unless it is simcha.
Say shame party. It's not shame party if it's anything but the first one.
Why?
No, an involuntary simcha could.
Because the rest is paying back. Party has to be devoid of any motivation besides simcha.
Involuntary party could technically cause.
But is it based on the affect or not? Is it based on the affect or not?
No, it's based off the inception.
No, what do you mean? 100%? What do you mean?
No, it's based off the inception.
Isn't it based on my affect?
The effect's the same.
It's one and the same.
No.
Isn't that the whole problem, MeReus? Is we said it's based on the affect?
So we got off that. We jumped on the
Is
inception.
the nicker motivation. That's the
Right. Did he
The
do
nicker
it,
motivation.
Did he do it out of simcha or did he do it out of...
Why should that? That sounds artificial.
No.
I mean, like, what's happening? So Rash,
The whole thing is artificial.
Maymar is just throwing in a curveball, like, oh, this thing nicker. Forget about any idea of Avelis and Simcha. I'm going to tell you this thing.
Because it's still shtickle experiential.
That's what I'm saying. The whole.
What's the experience? But you can't say both. You can't tell me it's experiential, and or at least you have to. How is it? How is the experience? How is the experience changed by your voluntary, involuntary situation?
Change or shame? Does that have to be experience? We have to go that route. You want the experience route?
You tell.
Shame, you can't go wrong. Shame. You can't go wrong.
Well, you didn't explain the phenomenon. I don't care what way route you go. Just give me something that makes a little bit of sense, and gives me a clear understanding of what's going on.
You can never start. Again, even in the last Lakir, we never started messing with the experience. You can never tell somebody they're going to have less fun at a party that they paid for than if they didn't. Maybe they'll have more fun because now they're the man. Everybody goes and talks to them. You can't say they're going to have less party just because they have to do the party. Less fun just because they have to do the party. What you could say is that it's not necessitative that the reason why I made the party is for the simcha because he had to make the party. And therefore, you can never call him not allowed to.
But aren't I making a simplest MeReus?
Why? Because
aren't I making it? Isn't it simplest MeReus? Isn't the problem?
Not necessarily. Maybe it's. I didn't want to see my friends today, but I had to. If he made the party, you can never argue that he didn't want to see his friends. So then don't make the party. You have to. But it's the same party, and the only big difference is his motivation. One is a not.
But who cares if it's nicker? If it's nicker or not? I mean, it just I don't.
It's not that it's nicker. Allah can't tell you something's usher unless we know it's simcha.
It's not why. It's
my question. But Allah, it's not that it's not nicker. It's Allah can't tell you something's usher unless Allah knows that it's simcha. This isn't simcha necessarily. So look, or else halacha wouldn't tell you you can't do anything on because maybe you'll be really happy about it. Maybe you'll have so much happiness it'll be like a wedding. That you can't do it like that. Not necessarily. So
it doesn't matter. They're equal. They should be right. It's equal to wedding.
No, it's not. They are. No. Right. And the reason why a wedding has to wait 30 days is only because it's voluntary. You didn't have to get married.
No, but let's say someone else got married.
What?
Someone else got married.
You didn't have to go to the wedding. All these things you didn't have to do. Therefore, the fact that you went shows you're doing it because you.
No, but they don't even bring that difference by nisu.
Of course, it's either way.
No, it doesn't matter. Even if it's not.
Every way is the same.
What?
When do you not have a choice to go to the
Right.
wedding?
There's no not choice.
It's not a question of choice.
No,
For some reason.
No, we're trying to make it a question.
I know, but you see that the Gemara is only saying that by Simchas MeReus that there's this differentiation.
That's because that's the only
No,
time there
that's
is.
the only way to do it. Right.
When else is there?
Let's say I'm forced to go. It's a business partner. I don't want to go to his kid's wedding. I gotta go. What?
These parties are a shia thing for them to be sometimes necessary.
You're right. Maybe the same color by wedding.
It just it's just like there's too many moving parts. I need a simple definition.
Whether it's your choice or not.
But why it doesn't? It's not Ola. Why should that matter? Why should that matter?
You're allowed to do right after Shiva, which thing you can't do.
You could right after Shiva. I could pay back.
You'd also be allowed to pay back if you're forced to go.
But I can't start.
What does that mean?
I could pay if we have this cycle. If we have this cycle, right, and it's my turn, I could pull. I could have throw the party.
Okay.
But I can't start the whole cycle of throwing parties until after Shloshim.
So it's all about starting the cycle. It's not even about throwing the party itself. It's just about starting.
Yeah, I could throw the party if it's a payback party. If someone if it's my turn. I think you guys are onto something, but it's too many moving parts. It's not simple. It doesn't explain the phenomenon in one simple idea. You guys have I don't really see clearly how voluntary and involuntary will change my affect.
I don't think
it doesn't have to change that.
It'll change the shame simple.
It's not ridiculous.
Well, you're just saying it's not nicker, but why should it matter if it's nicker? Why should it matter if it's nicker?
It's not nicker. Allah can't quantify simcha if it's not necessarily simcha.
What do you mean? It is. It's simplest
Give me
MeReus.
an Allah
Simplest
knows that.
MeReus.
What?
Simplest MeReus.
Yeah, but you don't. No, only if you have to go. It's not simple MeReus.
So the tzura is a party of bunch of friends.
If you wanted to do it, if you didn't want to do it,
well,
then
why
you can't
does
say it was simcha.
why does that? You have to give me a little bit more. You have to give me a little bit more.
Why can't you just say that if you don't
I'm dying to hear
then
your
it's possible? Why can't you just say that if you don't? If it's
Borderline literally.
I think you're on. I think you're hitting the right point in Rashi, but I think you just have to explain it. You have to give me. You have to round it out.
Can you just say what's the problem with saying that if something's not voluntary, there's a chance that you didn't want to do it and you have to do it either way?
Yeah, there's a chance, but it could be that I wanted to do it and I have a great time.
And on that side, then there's no
So-
reason why it would be disallowed, right?
But that's like a maybe. Like who knows? Who knows what's going on in the
If you're forced to sponsor a party, there's a big chance.
No,
or
there
at
has to
least-
be 1% chance that you didn't want to do it.
There's a chance that you
Why 1% chance? Like how do you come up with these things? Like
Any
There's
percent,
a
any
chance.
percent.
There's a
Law
chance.
can't
If
say
you're
it's simple
mourning, if
if
you're
it's not
mourning
necessarily
and you have
simple.
to and you have to sponsor a party, there's a chance that you're not going to want to do it.
yeah, but there's a chance I might want to have. I might have the best time of my life.
Maybe
That
it doesn't
doesn't
matter.
Why?
The law can't
Why?
tell
It's
something
Simcha.
to-
It's about its inception, not your actual experience once you're there.
But that's what I'm saying.
But it is about your actual
why are you saying
experience.
that?
I'm saying it's
Who
not.
says?
Why should it be? Well, why?
Because we're trying to make it clear. I
It's just, but it doesn't make any sense. But you
Why
said
does it make sense?
you're just like forcing something. Like it's just
Our
like,
whole
It makes
first
sense.
year was devoid of any
Yeah,
definition of the experience. So why now?
because now we're saying that the experience doesn't matter as long as the simcha is a quality in the thing.
No, I'm saying yes.
You're saying so now definitely the experience does matter. That's what you're
Right.
not
That's
saying-
why simcha. That's why
That's why having
there's
people-
because we got rid of that idea
That
of the
doesn't- no, now we
exception.
change it to voluntary.
That's exactly what the point.
Not all the way to the middle path.
You didn't have to-
But how do you like say somewhat but not like you
somewhat.
can't just do
Any
that?
simcha- Any
Why can't you
simcha in
do
the
that?
effect.
If it makes sense, why can't you do that?
It doesn't make sense.
Why does it make sense that something? Why does it make sense that something that's not voluntary? There's a big chance that you're not.
Tell me
gonna
why. Who cares about big chance? But there's a big chance that it might be
Not
great.
big chance.
Show me why it must not be simcha. That's what I want to know.
If it's not voluntary,
If it's not voluntary,
it doesn't
why?
have to be not simple. It has
No,
to be
no,
a chance
it's not simcha.
It's
No,
a
you
chance
can't
it's
say
not.
that.
No,
You
it's
can't
not.
say it's not
Rashi's
simcha.
telling you it's devoid of simcha.
No, no,
That's
Wait,
what
wait, you want to answer about experience, but
No,
I
before he
can't
said
argue
Kolkov.
from the
Before Rashi
experience
said
perspective
simple Kolkov.
because it might be
I want.
whatever.
Okay.
Before Rashi said simple Kolkov.
Do you want to hear what I say?
Okay, so that's why number one, it can't be experience in Torah entirely because
It can't be entirely. You're right.
because it's
But it is
it's
based
blocked.
on the. So I want to say it like this.
Simcha. Is he trying to say that Simcha is a set definition and just anything that doesn't fall under that set definition isn't Simcha? In other words, he's just going to define Simcha as that which is done purely voluntarily. So therefore, if it has any.
But why? Does that make any sense to you?
I mean,
That step right there, does that like?
According to the Gemara,
I mean, it could be. It
Yeah,
could
if
also not be.
that's the guy in the
It could
street,
also
you
not
say-
be.
if you're
Why
the
must
guy in
it
the
be
street,
that
you
way?
say no.
Why must it be?
Must it be that
Yes,
way?
yes. It must. Why must it be that way? Like there's 50% chance maybe, but why must it not be? Why must it be removed from
Okay,
simcha?
so why must?
It has to be removed. Yes, it has to be removed.
Why must?
Rashi said before
I think the criteria might be a little too stark.
Hello, Rashi said before simple Kolkov.
Yeah, but we rejected that.
Doesn't matter. Rashi
Because that was a-
Rashi was willing to say you don't have
You
to
can't
wait.
start bringing me that Rashi, which they broke it down. The Mesa, they
Rashi
broke
just
that
said you don't
down.
have to wait 30 days if it's not going to be simple Kolkov.
No, they're not saying that. Rashi now saying that's on the first sheet though.
Yeah, but what was he saying the din was over there?
What we said the din was because he was saying simcha kol chach means it's not the definition when it's an accident. It's not defined as simcha. But the Gemara showed you that even an accident of simcha
He said
is
there is a little bit of simcha though.
yeah, but it's an accident. Kol chach means it's an
Well, then
accident.
it would be a lot of simcha. If that simcha is talking about the accident,
Kol chach means as opposed to being an essential simcha. Kol chach is saying it's not an essential. It's qualitatively different because it adheres in the thing as an accident, not as an essence. That's what kol chach means.
so it's a little bit of simcha.
What?
So it's a little bit.
It's a qualitative little bit of simcha. It's not a quantitative little bit of simcha.
Alright, anyways, what's the
So I want to say like this: is that when you when you have a party, right? There's a difference between the person who's throwing the party and the guest at the party. Okay.
I was just not going to get very subjective.
You're winning.
Alright,
Okay. The guest just comes. He comes. He has a good time. He eats. He drinks. Whatever. He just engages. Right. So just his experience of the hana, right, gives him the simcha. right? Obviously, it's social too. But that, right? So it's all the hana. But for the host actually loses out. He's got to put money out, right? It's he's got to clean up. He's got to do all the prep, right? But the host, the simcha for the host is the graciousness that his friends are having a good time. He's gracious and he produces a hana in his friends, right? So when his
friend becomes a host, he's not really a host.
When he's
what? Reciprocating.
Right, when he's
not really
reciprocating,
it's not a real produce.
It's not the graciousness. He doesn't have that. He is forced into it. It's poranusa. I have to throw the party this week. Right?
Mom, you can't argue.
So therefore, I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just trying to explain it a little bit more, saying so it lacks. He doesn't act in as a host in the same way. It's removed from him being that full gracious host where he's producing this simcha, where he's just going all out, his friends, and he's throwing the best party. He throws the best parties, right? We have to pay back. It's like, I got to pay back this time. I got to do what he did. He can't. He doesn't. It lacks in the full expression of being a host. But that's why it doesn't matter, I would say, if someone's paying back to you, since it's just the hana, you can't go to that. Because as a guest, you're participating fully. So if someone's paying me back and I'm the avel, I can't go to that.
Why?
Because as a guest...
So one simcha is producing the rotation.
One simcha is being... Right. He's being the host, and then there's the guest. It doesn't matter if I'm the guest because someone paid me back, or I'm the guest because it's the first time in the cycle.
It's hana.
It doesn't matter.
It's hana.
So
in and of itself.
Right.
There we go.
But if I'm paying back, now it lacks in the full psychology of being a host, in the full simcha that you get from being a host.
You're not a host gaver. Not defined as a host gaver. Not a problem.
Exactly.
Great.
That's what. But you're saying involuntary. But I'm just trying to show you how that expresses itself in the affect. I'm just trying to show how the psychology works, such that it's one and the same. I wasn't disagreeing with you. You just have to unify those two things. How the affect is changed by the voluntary and involuntary.
Only sometimes.
What?
Not always.
No, it does always. If it's voluntarily a host.
It's relieved.
No, if you host the party voluntarily, you have the full expression of the graciousness of the person. And if you're paying back, you can't have that. Because you're trying to match something else, whatever it is. Okay? So now we have the Rambam. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, if someone's an avel, and someone else starts the cycle, I'm not allowed to go to that, correct? That person, that avel is not allowed to go to that.
If you say again, sorry.
Someone's an avel.
Yeah.
Someone else starts a cycle.
Right. He can't go to
He
that.
can't go to that.
Right.
And can he be the one? And can the avel be the starter of the cycle?
No, he can't. That's why Rashi says open.
He's only allowed
To pay back. Be a host to pay back.
Okay, this is nothing to do with Shiva.
No, it's after Shiva.
This can
It's
never be during
Shloshim.
Shiva.
No, it's right. The question of Shloshim or not, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's what, right? So if you look at the Rambam in Hilchos Evel Perek Vav Halacha Vav, right? To Simchas MeReus Shehaya Chayev Lifroa Usa Miyad, right? Mutar La'asosu Miyad La'achar Shiva.
Which halacha?
Vav. Perek Vav Halacha Vav. Right? So he has this. What? Yeah, Simchas MeReus, right? You have Simchas MeReus Shehaya Chayev Lifroa Usa Miyad, that where a person is chayav
Yeah,
to
so,
pay back immediately.
The one that was copied.
Oh, you have a different thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't care. Simchas MeReus shaya chayav lefrosa. Okay, the miyad. Okay, it doesn't matter. Mutar la'asosa miyad la'achar shiva. Yeah, that doesn't really change. Thing. Aval im eno chayav lefara asher li kanes la ad shloshim yom. Right. So the Rambam has our halacha, right? But he says bamedvar mamurim b'sha'ar mason. He has this differentiation by sha'ar mason, right? Aval al aviv al imo ben kach u ben kach lo yikanes l'simchas MeReus ad shnei masar chodesh. So right. So, but if you're being misavel on your mother or your father, where you're chayiv and yud beis chodesh, right? So the Rambam does not have this differentiation, right? So the question is, I don't understand something. We just gave this beautiful svara, right, about the psychology of being a host and a guest, right? So why is the Rambam now saying that this differentiation doesn't work by your mother and your father? Yeah.
And you just make the argument that like most things, it's just about kavod.
Well, why should kavod differentiate? Isn't it the kavod though is that I can't have the simcha? Because of kavod, I can't have simcha.
Okay.
So if there's no simcha because as a host I lack in the full expression of a host, right? So then how can you tell me that differentiation should not apply to your Beis Chodesh?
Well, maybe he wouldn't say that there's no the Gemara. He wouldn't say that there's no simcha in it. It just by the one where you're the starter, by definition, that's simcha because you're being the greatest host. But so
what does that change about your base? Who cares who the mace is? It's usher to be misamech, right? Your base is just isn't it just a longer thing? Yeah.
You can say that's not just longer.
Okay, so then what is it? So why doesn't it apply?
It's a stricter thing.
Well, based on
BC
what?
is longer, so obviously
But then what's the category? Is there simcha or not? We just told you there's no simcha, so the simcha doesn't exist as a host. Yeah.
In the case of where you're allowed to have Simchas MeReus, is that after Shloshim? Before Shloshim? As in after what time?
If it's just a regular mace,
Yeah.
Simchas MeReus, the Rambam tells you that you have to wait until Shloshim unless you're paying back.
and for a parent,
You have to. Doesn't matter even if I'm paying back.
you can't do it until after you.
Right. So he has our differentiation, right? But he doesn't go long enough. He doesn't follow through. He has this new. If you just, we don't have any evidence that there should be a differentiation, right? And now, the Ram, where's the Ram get this from? It's like he's pulling us out of thin air, right?
So can you just say what we're trying to find out? We're trying to find out why.
What's the difference
Between having a parent die
and
having a
regular?
car.
Right, exactly. Because based on how our definition should be straight. Our definition should follow through that it's not Simchas MeReus. If I'm paying back, I'm paying back, and therefore that's why I'm hosting the party. Right? Rambam is very difficult.
Why? Maybe he just says that by parent you have to be. Forget about the reason why for a second, but he's just saying whatever it is, for parent you have to be more strict in that you can't even put yourself in a situation where even more on a subjective level, you can't even have.
But didn't we just explain the psychology of how there's no simcha?
But you can't say there's no simcha. I mean, that was Abba's point. But you can say that when you're the starter, that has.
No, we said that it lacks in the simcha. It lacks in being that host.
Fine, so it's a -1, whatever.
But it's not the full expression, so therefore it's not the simcha.
Necessarily. It's not necessarily. It could be.
I'm saying it's not. I'm saying it's not. It's not the full expression.
I don't know. Some people have more fun paying back debts because they don't have to pay back a debt now. You know what I'm saying? Some
It's
people get
not.
really
It's not
guilty
a
when it's
debt
also
insofar
borrowed.
as you borrowed money.
It's not necessarily. It's not necessary. It's not
Fine,
necessary.
but it's a different. Whatever it is, it's a different kind of simcha. I get that, but you can't. The point is that you can't say there is.
It's not. No, it lacks in the psychology of the simcha.
No, but again, you can still be happy. You can't make the argument. that you can't be
I would agree with you,
happy.
Dylan. There's not a shame simcha. That's the only way you can matir it.
There's not.
No, not
Okay,
necessarily.
fine, but again, that's because I think there is a categorical difference between the two kind of simchas. One is the first one is, I guess you can make the argument, it's more altruistic, or not
Altruistic. What is
Not
that?
to
Which
me,
halachic category is that?
The halachic category of altruism. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I'm saying whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to say. The first one is.
I want a word that makes sense. Like, it's not like I just want to play with words. It's not a word game.
Forget about semantics. The first guy who starts off the set, he's not doing it like what we were saying. He's not doing it because somebody is making him do it. He doesn't have a debt to pay off. So that is pure. I'm doing it just because I want to be happy. Okay, you can't say that anything is diluting that. By the second guy, fine, you can say that it's being diluted a bit, but I don't think you can make the argument that there is no simcha there. The reality is that he's at a party.
It's not. If it's not the full concept of in line with being the host.
I find it hard to believe that it's all or nothing.
What?
I find it hard to believe that it's all or nothing.
In other words, that the simcha is to be that guy. You're not, but you're not that guy.
Or the
But
guest.
you're not that. It's not the simcha is the graciousness.
Or the guest is not the graciousness.
No,
Or
the guest is a different person. We're not talking about the guest now.
Also, why the guest? But it's in the same category. You have to explain it in the same category. How
I
is
told
the
you
guest-
because the guest, it's the hana.
So,
The guest gets the hana
Why didn't you also get another?
the host gets
because the host is eating his own food. You're allowed to eat your own food.
I get enough from eating my own food.
You're allowed to have hana from your own food. But I'm just saying is the simcha that. The simcha that you get from throwing a party is one of being gracious and producing the simcha in your friends, giving the hana to your friends. But if you're paying back, it's not gracious. It's not that kind of host.
Why do you have to say you got no another? Can't you answer the original question?
It's not a question.
If you go down that route, you're defining simcha in such a weird, abstract way. I'm saying
I'm just trying to define the psychology of this of how this works.
Fine. So let's just
It is a situation where you see it specifically where you invite your friend over. If you and I or you might not consider me a friend, but if you and your friends each buy your own food and sit together, that wouldn't be simchas MeReus.
Right, it's not part of it.
No, it could be a party. You could all just bring your own food, or if someone throws a party and you say, "Look, let me throw in $20 for what I ate." That wouldn't be simchas MeReus.
I didn't see that at all.
That's the case where people make for the other person. That's the case. Is I'm putting out. It's my meal, and you guys are coming over. That's
not necessarily it's not necessarily at a simcha, and that's why it can't be defined as simcha. It's not necessarily.
no. There's no idea like that. It's not a halachic. That's not a halachic category. There's no halachic category. Not necessarily.
Can I not argue back that being as I'm paying once I paid off this meal, I feel much better at this meal because now I don't have to
But
do
that's
this.
not the
When I was telling
psychology
someone, like, oh my
of
God, I
being
have
a
to do
host.
this. Why,
That's not paying off your loan. Is not simchas MeReus.
Not paying off you, right? But
That's paying off your loan. That's a
paying off your
simcha.
loan?
That's simchas.
No.
That's simchas. You don't have to pay a loan.
maybe
It's
the
not
guy
simchas MeReus.
throwing the party because just argue the guy throwing the first party is only doing it because someone else will throw a party for him.
No,
Stop.
he's it's a graciousness. He just wants to also be not lose
Now,
out.
if you really want to do that, you would never
Yeah,
come
you
say
wouldn't
when someone else does.
He just doesn't want.
Why can you
Look,
say it's not?
that's-
If the guy chose to do it, it's because he wanted to. If he didn't choose to do it, it's because he didn't want to. So you can't call it simcha.
The clear
Hey,
difference is
that's-
that the first guy isn't chayiv to do it. The second guy does it. He does it only because he's chayiv to throw a party.
I'm explaining why that's the case. I don't understand why. I'm
No,
just.
I'm not.
But I'm just saying
I'm not
is.
disagreeing with that. But where I have trouble believing is that.
So now you're going to tell me in that case, it's not simcha, or it's not enough simcha.
No, it's a-
whatever you want to say, it's not enough simcha to aser it. I don't care.
No, it's a different.
Look,
it's a different-
I don't think it's a good svara, but I'll give it to you. What I'm just saying is so now you're going to tell me, but by the Rambam makes his own new halacha up that is simcha for your mother and father.
No, because again.
Isn't your mother and father just modeled after the original idea of Krovim?
In a strict
Of
No,
Krovim?
But it is.
Yes, it's really just modeled. It's modeled after it. In fact, it's not more strict. It's more lenient.
How's it more lenient?
Parents?
Yeah,
How's it more
it's
lenient?
longer, but the things that are usher in there are less things than in Shloshim.
That's after the Sunday.
You could shave. It's ad shigar bo chavero. It's not the full Shloshim.
How does that make it
What?
lesser?
Your parents have.
No, it's more.
Yes, that makes it lesser.
Ad shigar bo chavero. If
No,
you,
but you have shloshim and then you
You have
have
Shloshim also, by
Shloshim
parents.
also.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that it's just because you can't break up Shloshim. Shloshim is a real shem avel,
Okay.
right? So you can't be worse than a karov, a regular karov.
You're more.
It's more insofar as it's longer. But the things that are usher during those Yud Beis Chodesh are less things than that you're allowed to. Aren't you? I think you're.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
Whatever it is, the things that are usher. I don't have it off the top of my
I
head.
know.
So are less. So you can't tell me it is.
No, how is that possible? They're not less.
No. Okay.
In other words, there are things that are usher and shloshim that are not usher during your Beis Chodesh.
Fine, but the
Okay,
point.
but
So
but
therefore you
it's
see,
for the other
so
person.
therefore you see, it's not in substance. It's quantitatively longer, but in substance, it's not more stringent.
But I can argue the fact that there is substance.
What do you mean? If you're going to tell me I'm not allowed to shave the entire shloshim, but I'm allowed to shave in Yud Beis Chodesh once it looks really bad, right? So doesn't that show you that it's not just a qualitative thing that's usher in shaving?
Fine, but
No, the way I see it is that the person who's mourning for his father or mother, he has a certain amount. He has shloshim, and then he has the rest of the year. Everyone else, all other programs.
Yes, there's a new. I'm not disagreeing with you that there is more time that the Avel exists. This idea that the Avel exists, but what is usher for that Avel is not the same thing that's usher in the essential Avelis of Shloshim.
Why are we defining the central avail?
Because there's psukim on it. That's the real that Yemei Bechi is Shloshim Yom. That's what you see by Moshe, by Yaakov, right? They bring psukim all over the case. So that's really the essential 30 days, is right?
Right. And
Now Yud Beis
this guy
Chodesh.
has to go more.
So now my question is, right? But is those more? Are they whatever is usher during them stricter?
Then shloshim no.
Right, exactly. So now, how are you going to tell me that Simchas MeReus, which is more strict in the Yud Beis Chodesh than it is in the Shloshim?
It's not more strict, it's just.
It is. The Rambam says it's more strict because he doesn't have this idea of Puranusa. The Rambam offers all types of Simchas MeReus in that.
well, I don't understand. He
No,
just,
all
he
12
just,
months.
he just applies it straight.
No, he's saying like this. Okay, let's do with your shoe.
No.
Tamagi Shira.
No.
There's like this. Let's compare two scenarios. Okay, you're mourning for your parents versus you're mourning for a brother. Okay, you're in Yud Beis by your parents and you're in Shloshim, and the other person's Shloshim by his brother. Okay, in the case of the Shloshim by the brother, the Nihugi Avelos in that period of time are more strict than the Nihugi Avelos of Yud Beis Chodesh. Correct? What that Avel is going through, restriction-wise, is normatively speaking, is more restrictive than when you're doing your Yud Beis Chodesh. Correct? So therefore, the Zman of Yud Beis Chodesh, the Zman itself, is one of less Nihugi Avelos than Shloshim. Correct? as a phenomenon. Forget as a phenomenon.
Fine.
So if you're telling me a property of Shloshim is that it's stricter than Yud Beis Chodesh, so how could it be that in Yud Beis Chodesh there'd be something stricter than Shloshim?
No, because you see, if I'm an Avel for my parent.
Wait, hold on. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
If I'm an Avel for my parent, I'm a different Avel than I am.
You're not.
Of course I am.
No,
I'm
you're
different
not.
Nihugim.
No, you have less nihugim than you would have for Shloshim.
Right. In other words, you gotta understand how Velos works. It
It
unravels.
decreases.
If you go from first day, 3 days, Shiva, Shloshim, Yud Beis,
There's
the
less
further
things
unraveling.
that are.
Fine, but if my brother, God forbid, dies, I don't have to do a Yud Beis Chodesh. If my mom
It doesn't. Fine, but it's longer. But the thing.
That
But
makes it
you're
more
telling me the quality of the Simchas
Right.
MeReus is worse during Yud Beis Chodesh than it would be for the Ikar Avelis of Shloshim.
So what is the case of Simchas MeReus?
Simchas MeReus in a regular Shloshim, right, is only is if I'm paying back a meal, I could host it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but when Yud Beis Chodesh comes, if it's for an Av or an Aim, it's even a Rambam picks out of nowhere, says this new Chiddush that it's more strict. That even that case, which would be normally mutter to do, is now usser.
Yeah.
So the question is, where does Ram get this from? And the second question is, it's wrong. Like, how does he just how does he just say it's more strict? It's against what Yud Beis Chodesh is.
You mean more strict than the average person?
Yeah, than anything you would do.
I know, but I'm just saying, if I'm an Avel for one of my parents,
Yes.
my Shloshim in terms of Simchas MeReus is not different than my Yud Beis Chodesh. It's the same.
Yes, but that's because Yud Beis Chodesh brings along a more strict nihug, which usually Yud Beis Chodesh never does.
It doesn't bring it more strict. It's
Yes,
just keeping it the same.
More strict than the average, than the normal.
Fine.
But that's it. Where does he get that from?
So, well, I think it has something. Okay, so it obviously has something to do with the fact that they're your parents, and I want to say it has a lot to do with kavod.
Why does kavod make that?
So I want to say that there is always still going to be that remainder of happiness, even though you're paying off, even though it's just me paying off a debt. The fact is that I'm at a party. It doesn't matter
Where do you
if I'm
see
at-
that? What? So how does the Rambam know that? Like, why does the Rambam like? You're positing that, but like, let's say if the Rambam didn't say that, would you say that?
Sorry?
If the Rambam didn't say this halacha, would you have said that?
I mean, yeah, Avi and I mean, pretty much everybody in this.
Really? If the Gemara doesn't bring that down, the Rambam didn't bring it down. You would just make this. You would be mechadesh that poor anusa would be usher during your Beis Chodesh.
The
I don't
Gemara
know if I
says.
necessarily.
No, it doesn't.
I'm starting with the facts, and I'm trying to work backwards. So I know that.
No, but I'm saying is, but you're not explaining the thing organically. You're just saying that it's. You're just saying that because the Rambam said this, I'm going to make this thing up. But it doesn't really. I could say the opposite, and you would agree. If the Rambam didn't say that, and I told you no, right? Then you would say, "Oh, you're right." So the Rambam didn't have this. The Gemara, the Rambam is picking this out misvara.
Yes.
So where does the Rambam getting this idea that there might be a little bit of simcha and that's still usher because of kavod? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's memela from the thing. You're defining it. It says you're positing a new thing because the Rambam said it. That doesn't. You're not really explaining the phenomenon.
Well, I mean, if the Rambam has a chiddush, I need to change my svara of it.
Yeah, but you can't just say anything that comes to your mind that I could argue the opposite for. It's just
I know. Just what I seem to be hung up on is that you can't deny the fact that there's no simcha even when I'm hosting a party.
Yeah, but that simcha is not. Wait, I don't care. Fine, you want to say I disagree with you, but even if you want to say that, you see though that's not usher in regular shloshim. The Torah never ushered that.
Okay.
Oh, but now because the Rambam said it's usher during your Beis Chodesh, you're going to say, it's more strict by that doesn't tell me anything, and you don't know where the Rambam get that from.
Okay, fine.
You don't understand the phenomenon any differently. You're just positing a new fact,
Okay, fine.
right? You didn't define the thing. Yeah.
So the Gemara on how many lines down? 11 lines down. There's al kol amesim kol nichnas leveis hasimcha la'achar lamed yom al aviv ve'al imo la'achar yubeis chodesh. So the Rambam and says that he says that the third. I think he would agree that even for a guy who is who is mourning for his father or mother, is allowed to be parua.
That's false. He
Why?
says benkach u benkach. He says openly in Halacha Zion. Bamed dvar mamurim b'shar mesim.
Kanis.
Aval benkach u penk.
Right. There's
Now-
lasosa, and then there's ikanes.
No. Lo yikanes. Then we said lo yikanes
No,
is the same
no,
thing.
no.
Rashi says the same thing.
There's
Arisa hainu shemasul echad mehen laso suda umavel kum kadesh yasu gam hem nami. Gam hem
This is
nami kach.
perfect. This is-
Laosa suda eno nichnas ad la'achar shloshim yom.
Right.
So he can't make it. He can't make it. He can't be going.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
matter.
Mutter asosa, but you're not allowed to likanes.
It doesn't matter. No. That's no.
It's perfect with the Gemara.
No. And you're not giving me a svar anyway. So the
I'm
Rabbi
saying
is
he's bringing
no.
out this Gemara.
No. That's the whole point. He just says he's making a differentiation between Shar Mesim, Aviv, Imo. So according to you, there's no differentiation. So why would he say Bamed Mamurim Bishar Mesim Aval Aviv Al Imo Benkach U Benkach? He's saying there's no differentiation of Poranusa or Arisusa. Whether it's Arisusa, whether it's Poranusa, Lo Yikanes. You're gonna like this next one. Whether it's Poranusa or whether it's Arisusa. His differentiation that he made in the first halacha, Benkach U Benkach, doesn't matter by sharp.
Okay. So
Didn't he just say La Sosa?
but if something is not chayav, right? He can't enter into something that he did not make.
Aval im einach, right? If he's chayiv to poreh, he's allowed to do that. Im eino chayiv lepara asul likanes la. Likanes means to make it or to go to it.
Likanes?
Yeah, because otherwise, why would you differentiate? If you're chayiv to pay it back, you can't be machnis to it.
No.
What kind of
That's not the word. That's not the word.
Asul likanes la
If you are
achos.
chayav, it's mutter la'asod is to make it.
If you are chayiv, but if you're not chayiv to make it,
You can't make it. Of course not.
if you're not chayiv to pay it back. So now I want to start.
You're chayiv-
I want to start the cycle now. Am I allowed to do it?
No.
Asher likanes la, right? Isn't that the halacha of asher likanes la ad shloshim yom?
Oh, well, likanes is saying to start the cycle.
To go to it or to you can't be machnis whether as the host.
Likanes differently. I was translating likanes to go to a party.
No, to enter into the base, into the bias.
Maybe he's not learning like Rashi.
Then what's the differentiation?
The way I'm reading is just straight into the Gemara. There's 7 days of
If you're chayiv to pay it back, you can make it, right?
even after 7, even if you're
Right. Now, if you're not chayiv to pay it back,
a shloshim person till shloshim,
right? But does that? But right, what am I allowed to make it?
am I allowed to make it?
Am I allowed to throw the first party?
No,
Oh, why? Is that asuli kanes sham?
that's not likanes. That's asosa.
So then, what makes you say I can't throw the party according to the Rambam? He only says asuli kanes sham. He doesn't say asul asosa. Oh, so I must be able to make the party. I can throw a party, the first party. Yeah. Now we read the next part. Right. Right,
That's
so-
a regular guy, obviously.
Let me ask you a question. According to the Rambam, based on what you read,
Yeah.
can I throw a party if I'm not obligated to pay back? Which part of halacha vav asers that?
For Avein?
No, regular stam guy. Isn't it aser lihikanei sham ad shloshim yom? Kanesham means both. I can't make it. I can't go to it. You can't even step foot in the thing. Okay, so I want to say it like this. I want to say that really there's two halachos. Yud Beis Chodesh. There's the normal halachos of Avelos, right? Or like a stam guy, or even for Yud Beis Chodesh up to Shloshim, right? There's Shiva and Shloshim, and those are based on the normal psychology of the Gavra, right?
Gavra being the other.
The Gavra being the other, and there's halachic categories that match that psyche, right? That psychology, right? Right. There's Shoshis Mebechi. There's Shiva. Right. At the last 4 days of Shiva, it's Nichum that matches the right. There's a lot of different halachos that take into account that person, because that's a real phenomenon of a state of psychology that the Torah has to deal with. Right, there's Kriya the first day, right? It's really supposed to be right when your mace is in front of you, right? So there, right? But then there's Yud Beis Chodesh, and like you said, Yud Beis Chodesh is kavod, right? It's really an institution of kavod. But what did they do? How did they set up an Avel? This concept of an Avel because of kavod. That's what the Rambam was dealing with. See, the Rambam saying that by Yud Beis Chodesh, what they did is they took they said that you have to be subjugated to your parents based on their death as well, right? But halachically, since there is no, really, after Shloshim, that psychology is gone, because naturally the person comes out of that state. What they did is they...
Why draw the line there?
That's just, you see that's just the normal way of man. That's why by Moshe, 30 days, by Yaakov, right, there's always 30 days of crying, right? Mourning's 30 days. I'm
just saying like that.
Well, so then why do you?
Subjective thing.
So then why does it stop for a regular karov after 30 days?
I don't know.
Well, so apparently that's the general way of man, right?
Okay.
That's the general. Some people a little bit longer, some people whatever, but 30 days is apparently the normal amount of time. So the thing is that what they did is they said they abstracted out Hilchos Avelos, Nihog Avelos, and they said you have to be engaged in Nihog Avelos. There is no Avel in psychology, but because of kavod, right? They abstracted out the Nihog Avelos separate from the affect of the Avel, separate from the psychology of the Avel, right? So if they did that, so then if you see, we said pour on nusa, right? When you're paying back, right? Remove the affect in the person of Simcha. But if the halacha is not based on the psychology and the affect in the person, it's just based on the nihog avelos, because there is no psychology of the avel, right? So then all you have is a tsuras simchas MeReus. And that doesn't matter if I remove the affect, because there is no psychology.
Why? Why not just keep it consistent?
No, but because that's what I'm saying is that the whole system is an abstraction. It's an abstraction from the Iker Hilchos Avelos and extended.
So don't make it any more severe.
No, it's not that it's more severe. It's just saying the heter of removing the affect of simcha cannot apply when you're not talking about the psychology of the gavra anymore. When the psychology of the avel is not a halachic parameter.
When you just care about the tzura.
So you just care about the tzura. So it doesn't matter if you're paying back, because the paying back removes the affect.
It doesn't matter that you're paying back.
So it doesn't matter that you're paying back. It doesn't benkach, whether you're paying back or whether you're starting the whole thing up. It's aser by Yud Beis Chodesh.
Wow.
Because it's the abstract nihug avelus that's aser, because there is no avel. There's no psychology of the avel. The iser is not by shloshim.
Why is it aser?
What?
Why is it aser?
Because they said Simchas MeReus is aser. Just like Simchas MeReus is aser by an avel of shloshim, it's aser kol Yud Beis Chodesh. But you don't have the heter, you don't have the matir of removing the affect of the simcha. So now you just so Simchas MeReus vis-a-vis that system.
But why?
Because it's a different system of avelus. Because there is no avel. The psychology of the avel ends at Shloshim Yom.
I'm saying the Yud Beis guy.
No, but I'm saying is naturally you can't naturally the avel is over, because the Torah set up avelus to match that the psychology of the avel.
Okay.
Right? That's over after Shloshim Yom. That's the norm of man. Now the Chachamim set up a new, because of kavod, because it's an iser kavod. It's an avelus mishum kavod, right? So if it's mishum kavod, you see it's not tied to the essential phenomenon of the psychology of the avel. It's a new idea. Now they borrowed the same halachos from the ikar avelus for the kavod. But if you're going to borrow it, you have to abstract and there is no, you can't just say, oh, the psychology of the avel is going to last 12 months.
Maybe.
You can't say that. That's not a halachic that's not a halachic category.
But why are we working from Shloshim? I would say work from Yud Beis Chodesh. The guy who's
Yud Beis Chodesh is mishum kavod.
Right, but that is the prime example of.
It's not the prime example of avelus. It's kavod. Because otherwise you wouldn't tell me it's you don't need to tell me it's kavod. Tell me that's avelus.
Okay, fine. So then what's you're saying? So it's one thing to borrow the structure. Not yet. We're not back to actually say the mindset, the experience is the same. We just borrow the structure dealing with it.
Exactly.
So fine. So then that's it.
So if that's the case, the heter that we gave of Puranusa is based on the psychology of the.
What was that? Might have been eating chicken. I don't know what that.
It was because it was the idea that if I'm paying back, so now I don't have the full psychology of being a host. The simcha of being a host is not there.
Okay, fine, yeah.
Oh, so since that matir is vis-a-vis the gavra of an avel and simcha being a tarta desasri to the gavra of the avel, being a contradiction to the gavra of an avel. Right? But if I'm in a system that doesn't look at the gavra of the avel, but it's purely the halachic structure, so that you can't have a heter of puranusa, of paying back. Because I don't care what his affect is. It's the only isser is hosting a party. Because that's the tzura. The tzura of what you're doing is hosting a party.
Right.
I had a heter because I could remove.
The other was in that truck.
What?
Fine.
Yeah.
My question is why say you start from Shloshim?
Because I'm starting from what's avelus. I'm saying. Because otherwise you tell me that Yud Beis Chodesh is not from kavod. It's just because that's really...
I would say yeah.
So then why is the Torah... So why is it kavod?
I didn't say it was kavod. I wasn't the one. He said it.
It is kavod. That's the Gemara brings it down. Yud Beis Chodesh is kavod.
So you're saying that we have one... we go from Shiva to Shloshim.
That's a real thing. And then you go into this new system of what's it called?
So really the what do you call it? The I don't want to say strange. This system of Avelis is really just Shiva and Shloshim.
Yeah.
And they added on 11 months.
Yep. Mishum cover.
So what about like shaving your beard and getting a haircut? Why does this?
I don't have to go into that, but that's
No, right, no, but with your shoot.
yeah. Go.
No, but it's not that. You see this before with Chazal. It's not that they're being machmer. It's just that in creating the system, by definition, there was no mechanism that would allow them to create this differentiation. You understand? It's the machmer aspect is a byproduct of it.
No, I get that.
Right.
You think they had to extend?
No, so everywhere else they're able. Forget. It doesn't matter what
Okay,
specific.
now a heter emerges by cutting your hair.
There's everywhere else they would want to do that. You know what I mean?
Sorry?
And there's in all the situations they want the nihuge avelis to be what do you call it, of a lesser quality, right?
Fine.
But when they want to retain this, or when they want to borrow this, the problem is the very differentiation that exists in the normal avelis couldn't exist in this situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Because you're not talking about like the weeping sad avel. That's not what we're talking about.
So it's a halachic. It's purely a halachic formulation.
It couldn't, or just be stupid. I think it'd be stupid. I don't know why you'd assume that.
There's no way they.
I'm very down borrowing the structure, but why would you?
Mishum kavod, it was a new gezerah of Avelis. And what was that? But that gezerah, normally you could the Chachamim's heter, the Chachamim's gezeros of Shloshim were based on the psychological man. And you see throughout learning the sugyas, they really deal with that person. They're the Nihug Shiva, the Nihug Shloshim, Aninos, all this. It's all to take up that person, that psychological man of the Avel. But by kavod, there is that Avel's not there because it ends at 30 days. But mishum kavod, they demanded the nihug avelis to exist. But now, if nihug avelis exists, which is an abstraction, they borrowed the halachic formulations from the system of the ikar system of avelis, right, dealing with the psychology, and they said, we're going to put it here for kavod. But in borrowing that, you lose a heter that's dealing with the psychology of man. Our heter of Puranusa was because of the psychological man. Because we've removed the simcha vis-a-vis that person.
So why is that?
Like we said before. That was because as a host, you don't get the full simcha.
So why does that go away?
Right, so why does it?
Oh, so now that heter, since we're not dealing with how the gavra feels, the psychology of the gavra, right? We don't care. That gavra is gone. So removing the simcha of that gavra doesn't do anything. All that's the isser is merely the tsuras hasuda of hosting a meal.
So if the gavra changes, then so does the heter that was related to the gavra also has to go.
Exactly.
The gavra goes, so does the heter related to the gavra has to go.
Okay, so why?
The heter was only there.
So why can't you?
gavra?
Why is covered more strict than Avelis?
So it's not more strict per se because they want it, but in their borrowing of that system, you don't get the heter because that heter falls away.
It's accidental. It wasn't intended. It's an accident
of borrowing that system. You lose any heter that relates to a psychological gavra
How come?
because he's not there anymore.
Who's he?
The psychological gavra.
Why
That's-
not?
that's-
Because
over social.
what? Because over social.
But the psychological heter that we wanted to use for Sudas MeReus, that had nothing to do with Avel.
Yeah, it did because we said
No, that just had to do with the emanation of his happiness.
Yeah, exactly. Happiness vis-a-vis an Avel is a contradiction to his Avelis. He can't have that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let's forget about Avelis for a second. Let's just run the Sudas MeReus case versus the cycle. I could run the same psychological svara for me starting the cycle versus me being in the middle of the cycle. And I could argue that using this thing, Simcha could
The problem is, like we said very well, is the affect of Simcha. That the affect of Simcha, feeling Simcha, removes the guy from that psychological state.
I know, but
So if you remove the Simcha from that guy, you haven't contradicted his state of Avelis. It's perfect. But when that Gavra is not there anymore, because Shloshim is over, and it's purely the Nihog Avelis, so you can remove all you want that affect of Simcha. But that doesn't affect this system.
that his Simcha